Well, good afternoon, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boost Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. You know, one of the reasons why I originally got started doing like YouTube and Facebook, and actually I actually used to write for many years ago, blogging, it was mainly because of the disinformation that you would always get from a lot of the shows and things. People would say Tony Romo is a choker, he sucks, he can't win in December and things, and not look at the whole picture, because I would look at the numbers and the stats and things like that, and I would say, no, Tony has his faults and stuff, but there's plenty of spaces you can look where there's other fault that goes around. And that's one of the reasons why I started doing it, to try and at least put out the correct information. Because what happens a lot of times is you hear something so many times, you begin to believe it. The thing that kills me more than anything else, and maybe it's because it's the Dallas Cowboys, but things are always different when it comes to a Dallas Cowboy player. Frank Clark gets arrested for a second time of having illegal weapons, an Uzi, by the California Highway Patrol. You heard about it briefly for a few moments, but then it goes away. If that had been DeMarcus Lawrence, they would be talking about it literally nonstop. And this is where I have an issue with Skip Bayless, Mr. I'm going to throw Dak and Zeke's jersey in the trash and call myself a fan and stuff. The way he will go after Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboy players, and then not follow up the same thing with others. Because here's an amazing thing, and I waited, and shout out to Gina Thorne for sharing this with me, because I wanted to see if anybody would talk about this. But Aaron Rodgers said about mental health, the mental side of it is so important for all of us athletes. I don't think it is talked about enough. But taking time to work on yourself is, I think, the best gift of any of us can give. So he's talking about the mental health of players. Let me just go through. You know what? I'm going to, instead of me trying to put it in my own words, let Skip Bayless put it in his words.
You're commanding a lot of young men and some older men. And they're all looking to you to be their CEO, to be in charge of the football team. Because of all that, I don't have sympathy for him going public with, I got depressed. I suffered depression early in COVID to the point that I couldn't even go work out. Look, he's the quarterback of America's team. And you know and I know, this sport that you play, it is dog eat dog. It is no compassion, no quarter given on the football field. If you reveal publicly any little weakness, it can affect your team's ability to believe in.
Basically, Skip Bayless is implying that Dak Prescott's weak. He's not a real leader, because he's actually letting you know that he is vulnerable. Aaron Rodgers says kind of the same thing. Nothing. It's the same kind of thing that we always hear, people talking about garbage time yards. I am so sick of hearing about garbage time. Oh, well, Dak Prescott, he only gets yards in garbage time. Here's an interesting statistic. In the history of the NFL, 400-yard games, Drew Brees has the most with 16, followed by Dan Marino, who has 15. Dan Marino had 2 of those in the playoffs. Playoffs? You're talking about playoffs? Pat Mahomes, I believe, has 4. Dak has 7. And, of course, the narrative will be, yeah, but those were in garbage time. So Dak Prescott is almost halfway there to the record. The interesting thing is, in those 400-yard plus games that he's been in, the Cowboys are 4-3. They've won more of them than they lost. And only one of those games that he's thrown for over 400 yards, were the Cowboys not within 7 points in the fourth quarter at some point. It's kind of interesting that you're throwing for all those yards and winning more of those games than you're losing. Because the narrative is, oh, well, Dak Prescott, he's thrown, all those yards and they always losing. No. And if you're saying that you're only getting yards because it's in a losing effort, then why isn't it you have guys like, Sam Darnold with the Jets that were always losing and always behind and getting blown out? Why isn't it he wasn't throwing for a couple of 400-yard games? Why? If it's just garbage time. I want to read something. I can't find a date on this, but this is from the American Football Database. And I want you to just listen to this because, like I said, I'm not sure what year that this was done because I can't find the date on it. In the National Football League, 115 quarterbacks have passed for at least 400 yards in a single game. 115 total. 225 times in the regular season and 15 in the postseason. Dan Marino had recorded the most 400-yard games with 15, and that's why I say that this is old, because Drew Brees actually has the record now. But it still gives you at least a back. Peyton Manning is the only other quarterback with 2 postseason 400-yard games. It has the second most overall with 10. So this was before Peyton Manning retired. But I just wanted to use this again for background, as well as the only one to do so on his first start. So his first start, he threw for 400 yards. Now, I can't find out. I've got to find out how many Peyton Manning had, but it's not more than Drew Brees. This is what I actually wanted to pull up. Of the 240 times a quarterback has earned a 400-yard passing game, 131 resulted in wins, 105 in losses, and 4 in ties. Okay, now again, this article is short. Since 2006, only 15 of 46 400-yard games resulted in a win, which is 33%. Prior to 2006, 116 of the 194 resulted in wins, 60%. So, again, I don't know when this article was written, but Peyton Manning was still playing at the time, I believe. Or maybe not. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure. But when this article was written, from 2006 on, only a third of the time were quarterbacks winning these games. So I guess you could look at this and say, oh, well, quarterbacks throwing for 400 yards and losses. Yeah, that's true. But this, again, bucks the trend and the narrative that Dak Prescott is only throwing for a whole bunch of yards in garbage time, because he has bucked the trend where he's winning 60% of his games that he's thrown for 400 when the current number was only 33. But this all goes back to, and I know what's going to happen. Those of you who are watching still will not change their mind, because some of you are still on, he's a dink and dunk Dak, okay? And then the new one is, of course, garbage time. But the funny thing is I think Dak Prescott since 2016 has somewhere in the top 5 the most amount of wins. And that includes with him being gone for 11 games last year. But keep it up, haters. Keep it up. We're going to keep on bringing it to you. But Skip Bayless, I'm sorry. I got no love for Skip Bayless. He is, in fact, in fact. Mark Holmes, and I hope you're having a great Taco Tuesday. And we're counting down. We are 2 weeks and 1 day away from the Cowboys open up training camp. I'll see you later.